Hello, you. Welcome to the deep dive.
Hey there.
So we take your sources, and try to pull out the really interesting bits.
The stuff that makes you think.
Exactly. And today, we've got this Japanese radio conversation, a couple of artists talking.
And wow, they really jump around topic-wise.
Oh, yeah. Moving, collaborations, the future of art, nature.
Education comes up a lot, too. And AI, obviously.
Right, AI. And then just like moments of happiness and this idea they call white space.
Intriguing.
So the mission, as always, is to give you the feel for what they're thinking, but, without it being overwhelming.
Without the full 6-hour listen, maybe. Let's dive in.
Okay, let's do it.
First thing that hits you is just how casual it is, free-flowing.
Yeah, you really get their personalities.
Totally. They start off just, like, joking about typos and stuff. Really light.
Puts you at ease right away.
Then they quickly mention no big moves or collaborations this week.
Ah, okay. So maybe that's a running theme for them.
Seems like it, yeah. Suggests they talk about it often.
And it sounds like they have been busy, though. Collaborations anyway.
Oh, for sure. They mentioned past stuff, like with an American artist. That show's still on till September, apparently.
In a space like an interior shop. That sounds cool.
Yeah, paints the picture, right. And they've had shows in Rotterdam, Hong Kong, too.
Wow, okay. So maybe quiet this week, but definitely plugged into the global scene.
Absolutely. And they mentioned a fair coming up in May.
Always looking ahead. Makes you wonder how they juggle all that.
It really does. And it sort of highlights this desire they seem to have for that international art life.
Right. One of them even says something like, oh, I wish I could say my shows in Hong Kong and New York just finished. Kind of mirroring the other person.
Yeah, exactly. That aspiration for, global reach.
And that kind of leads into the bigger stuff, doesn't it? Like the role of art, education.
Yeah, that becomes a really significant thread through the whole conversation, a really big theme.
Definitely. And they announced this, well, it sounds pretty huge, a 6-hour live online event, April 19th. I know, that's commitment. It really says something about wanting to connect.
Totally. They're planning to have guests on, other artists, supporters, collaborators, all sorts.
And the reason. Just seems to be the joy of talking, making those connections.
It's actually really nice to hear, isn't it? That simple driver.
Yeah. One of them talks about finding happiness in, conversation and creating, how they shifted from writing, which is more solitary.
Right, to enjoying the speaking part, the interaction.
And that seems to feed into their art, too, that desire to connect.
I think so. And then there was that trip they mentioned to Matsumoto.
Oh, yeah, the family home visit, visiting workshops for some project.
Still under wraps, apparently. Something for September, maybe?
But seeing the photos, the artwork in that wooden setting sounded really nice.
Grounding, maybe.
Yeah.
You can picture it.
Yeah. And it ties into what they said about sculptors.
Oh, that was fascinating. That deep respect they have.
The analogy they used. Carving a Buddha from wood.
So powerful. Taking this raw thing and giving it a whole new existence. Human skill, vision.
Yeah, it really speaks to that fundamental urge to create, to shape things.
It really does. And then connecting that to Japan's forests.
Right. How abundant they are, but also the people who care for them, who often go unnoticed.
And how artists could maybe bridge that gap between nature and, well, us, human life.
It's a really thoughtful angle. Makes you think about those connections we overlook.
And that links up perfectly with that visit they made to that place in Shiga Prefecture.
The mountain place. Yeah, working with forest wood.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Using this amazing method, kind of like making binchatan charcoal.
Oh, right. The dense stuff.
Yeah, to stop big bits of wood from cracking. They use this sauna process to relax it.
Wow. That's a cool mix of old techniques and new ideas. Shows real curiosity.
Doesn't it? About materials, process.
Yeah.
It really underlines that curiosity.
And that idea of being a bridge between nature and human making.
Yes, they explicitly say that. Wanting to be a bridge, it's more than just, liking nature. It's active connection.
Actively fostering it.
They even mention planning a forest exhibition, maybe October.
Focusing on that exact fusion, natural beauty, human creations.
It fits so well with the respect for wood, for craft, and then they bring in the Finland example.
Forest kindergartens, where kids just play outside.
Yeah, highlighting the sensory stuff, learning to appreciate nature really young.
It's all tied together, isn't it? Nature, art, education.
It really is. Oh, and they mentioned Koichi Shinoda exhibition, too. Date set, location PPC.
So still very active in the scene. And yeah, you're right. Education just keeps popping up. Not just school, but ongoing learning, discovery.
Yeah, lifelong learning almost. And there's a quick little aside, actually. One of them mentions discovering another artist, Saori.
Oh, really?
Yeah, someone connected to Euron Island. Just shows they're always looking, always connecting with the wider art world.
Always curious.
But then, boom, back to reality. The solo show prep. End of April deadline.
Ah, the pressure's on.
Definitely adds that urgency.
And that leads into that really interesting bit about looking back at their own work, right?
Yeah. How some pieces feel done, finished.
Yeah.
But others, they feel like they could revisit them, refine them based on where they are now.
Which is fascinating because isn't the usual idea that art is finished when it's finished?
Well, that's the contrast, isn't it? The other artist apparently prefers to leave old work alone, preserve the original feeling.
Two different philosophies.
Exactly. And then ChatGPT comes into it.
Great. Asking the AI if artists used to revise their work. Overwriting, they called it.
And the AI's response is pretty mind-bending. That art can be seen as alive, evolving with the artist.
It really challenges that whole frozen in time idea of art.
It absolutely does. And the reasons they give for wanting to revise, it's compelling. Their own perspective shifting.
Wanting to add light or maybe a different emotion based on now.
Yeah, and this feeling that the artwork itself is asking for more. Like it's a conversation, treating it like a living thing.
Wow. That's a deep way to think about it.
It is. Though the other speaker sounds a bit, playfully skeptical.
Yeah.
About art evolving.
Yeah, I caught that too. Probably reflects how most people think.
Probably. But the first artist clarifies, it's not all work. Some pieces just feel complete right from the start. Others feel like they could grow more.
A nuanced view of their own process, then.
Exactly. And from there, it's a pretty smooth jump to thinking about AI more broadly.
Ah, yes, the speed of it all. Is it just too fast? Changing how we even perceive time?
That's the question they pose. And that example of using AI for a to-do list.
Making it relatable. Like, are we just outsourcing our thinking?
And is time flying because we're focused or because we're not really in the moments?
Deep question for a Tuesday morning.
Right. Then they bring up the singularity idea. AI getting smarter than us.
And that slightly creepy feeling of being used by AI? Subconsciously?
Yeah. That's unsettling. Are we losing some autonomy?
And the danger, they suggest, is maybe just grabbing quick answers from AI.
Instead of taking time to reflect, to question things ourselves.
Right. Which is where art comes in, they say. It doesn't give easy answers.
No, it pushes you into dialogue with yourself, your feelings.
Which leads back to that fundamental thing. What actually makes us human now? With AI getting so capable.
What are our unique things, feelings, experiences? That seems to be the core question they're wrestling with.
And it's a question a lot of us are thinking about, I guess.
Definitely. But then they shift gears a bit, thankfully, to something more personal.
Happiness. Yeah. What brings those moments?
And it's often simple stuff, right? Human connection, understanding something without words.
Just enjoying tea, they mentioned. Grounding thing.
It felt like a really warm shift. And they wish happiness for the listeners, too.
That was nice. And I like the shout out to that online creator duo.
Oh, the sisters, with the positive message at the end.
Yeah. Wishing happiness. It's a small thing, but
it matters. And seeing a rainbow that morning, connecting it to their exhibition title, Fantasista Bloom Rainvolution.
Finding meaning in the everyday. That's lovely.
Yeah. And then just the practicalities again, wondering when people like Akeaka-san or Fukai-san might make it to the show.
Schedules are busy. Fukai-san might be traveling. Osaka Expo, Hawaii.
Sounds like it. But you really feel the warmth they have for Fukai-san, wanting listeners to meet them.
It all comes back to those connections, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Which kind of leads nicely into them talking about Sogetsu Kaikan.
Ah, the place in Akasaka with the cafe.
Exactly. The first artist mentions liking people who are, unpredictable, who bring surprises.
Says something about them, maybe, wanting to be seen that way too. Spontaneous.
Could be. And they say they haven't traveled much, just Tokyo outings. So this recommendation feels quite personal, a gem they found.
They really seem to love it. Describing the cafe view, greenery, sounds like a little escape.
An oasis. And the personal link to the Sugetsu flower arranging school adds another layer.
It's not just a random cafe pick. It has meaning for them.
Definitely. And remembering that performance event there, connected to São Paulo, it underlines it as a real cultural spot.
And the feeling about Isamu Noguchi's space there, evoking Zen.
Yeah, that's a strong image. And they connect the hall itself to Zen principles. Contemplation, peace.
Fits with the whole vibe, really. They specifically mentioned the Cornell coffee, right? Second floor.
View of Noguchi's stone monument. Seasonal readings, too. It sounds incredibly specific and inviting.
Makes you want to go.
Totally. And then they make that connection to Paris, UNESCO headquarters.
Noguchi again. And Tadao and...
Yeah, another Noguchi garden and an Endo meditation space. These kinds of thoughtful, artistic spaces.
Uniquely human places, they suggest, for reflection.
Which loops right back to that idea of white space.
And how important that is for being human, especially now with AI being so efficient.
Yeah. The cafe view, watching performances. It's like a visual for having that space to just observe, reflect.
And the idea that art, and even things we might see as waste or just emptiness, that's stuff we can contemplate.
Stuff we can feel. And the comparison to Roman philosophers.
Yeah.
Needing leisure time, freedom from just surviving.
To actually develop deeper thought, creativity.
Right. So the hope is AI should create more of that white space for us.
Should being the key word.
Exactly. Because as they point out, it only really happens if you actively seek it. If you use that space for human things. Reflection. Connection.
Not automatic, you have to choose it.
And the examples are so simple. A real thank you. A friendly hello on a walk.
Small interactions. But maybe focusing on those helps stop you feeling swallowed by the tech. Reclaims that human space.
That seems to be the idea. Being present in the human world around you.
So maybe the final thought for you, listening, is just that. How do you consciously make a bit more of that white space in your own day?
Yeah, space to breathe, reflect, connect. Not necessarily big things.
Just finding those moments. Because maybe exploring that space is how we figure out what being human really means right now.
Food for thought.
Definitely. Well, thank you for joining us for this deep dive.
Thanks, everyone.